My name is Dana Mercer, and at 36 my parents stood in front of 184 wedding vendors and told my fiancé I had stolen deposits from 23 couples. My mother held up a canceled bride's contract and said, "Before you marry her, you should know what she does when people trust her." Then my father announced that I had abandoned our family venue, with $186,400 missing. What they did not know was that the merchant processor had already traced every dollar. They also did not know that 6 of those couples were standing behind the ballroom doors, or that my younger sister had used my name on one final document that could cost her the venue. My fiancé, Adrian, looked at my parents and said, "You picked a room full of witnesses. That was your mistake. If your family accused you of stealing the business you spent half your life saving, tell me in the comments whether you would answer them in private or let the whole room hear the truth." 3 minutes later, the first bride walked in carrying the white binder my mother said I had destroyed. To explain why that binder mattered, I have to go back to when I was 17 and Mercer House was still a leaking Grange hall with 6 folding tables and a broken ice machine. My parents bought it outside Dayton, Ohio, for $214,000. My father, Paul, had been laid off from an appliance plant. My mother, Elaine, had worked church banquets and believed she could turn any room into a wedding venue if she had enough white fabric. They were not wrong. They were also not ready. The roof leaked over the west windows. The kitchen had one residential oven. The parking lot became mud after hard rain. The county allowed 120 guests, but the old electrical panel could barely handle a DJ, 2 coffee urns, and the string lights my mother ordered online. I was a high school senior. My sister, Brooke, was 13. The week before Mercer House opened, my father handed me a yellow legal pad. "Write down every bill," he said. "You are good with numbers." That was how I became the bookkeeper. I did not have a title. I had algebra homework, a used laptop, and a chair in the storage closet. I built our first invoice template. I made a payment calendar. I called brides when checks were late and vendors when my father forgot what he had promised. My mother handled the room. My father handled repairs. I handled everything that could prove what had happened after both of them remembered it differently. The first wedding was for a couple named Bate and Ray Collins. It rained for 9 hours. Water came under the west door at 4:20 in the afternoon. My father was still at the hardware store. My mother was upstairs crying because the florist had delivered peach roses instead of blush. I rolled towels against the door, moved 4 tables, called the florist, found the correct roses at another shop, and drove 22 miles to get them in my mother's minivan. Bate never knew. At 10:45 that night, after the last guest left, she hugged my mother and said, "You made this perfect." My mother looked at me over Bate's shoulder. She did not correct her. I told myself that did not matter. We were family. That phrase covered a lot in our house. When I got accepted to the University of Cincinnati with a partial scholarship, my parents asked me to delay 1 year. "Just until the venue is stable," Dad said. Mom put both hands around mine. "Family doesn't keep score, Dana." That became her sentence. Family doesn't keep score when I worked every Friday and Saturday without pay. Family doesn't keep score when I used $3,800 from my graduation gifts to replace the kitchen refrigerator. Family doesn't keep score when I postponed college a second year because my father hurt his back and my mother said she could not manage contracts alone. By the 3rd year, the scholarship was gone. Mercer House was not. We had 41 weddings booked. I took accounting classes at Sinclair Community College in the mornings and ran the venue the rest of the week. I built a color-coded system because my mother kept promising the same garden arch to 2 couples on the same weekend. White folders were weddings. Green were vendor payments. Blue were permits and inspections. Red meant money had to be resolved before the event. Brooke liked the glamorous parts. She modeled gowns for open houses. She posted table settings online. She called herself creative director before she was old enough to sign a contract. When guests left, she left too. I stayed for broken glasses, final counts, overtime disputes, and fathers of the bride who wanted to know why the bar bill was $640 higher than expected. Brooke was good in photographs. I was good when the photographs were over. My parents needed both skills, but only one looked like success. By 25, I had turned Mercer House from a Grange Hall into a business doing $1.2 million a year. We added a glass garden room, a commercial kitchen, and a second ceremony lawn. I negotiated the catering partnerships. I set up the merchant account. I wrote the refund policy after a snowstorm forced us to move 3 weddings. My name was on every bank verification call because my parents hated security questions. My name was on the state vendor registration because my father missed the filing deadline twice. My name was on the merchant profile as operations manager because I was the person who answered when a payment failed at 11:30 at night. But the deed belonged to my parents, and the company shares belonged to my parents. Whenever I asked about ownership, my mother smiled like I had asked for payment after helping her carry groceries. "This will all be yours and Brooke's one day," she said. Then came the sentence. Family doesn't keep score. I believed her longer than I should have. The first person who made me question it was Adrian Cole. He owned a small commercial lighting company. We met when Mercer House hired him to replace the cheap string lights my mother loved and the fire inspector hated. Adrian did not flirt with me. He asked why the West Ballroom circuit list was written in 3 different colors. Because my father changes things and forgets to tell me. Then the panel should remember for him. I liked that answer. He labeled every circuit, photographed the finished work, and sent 1 clean invoice. I nearly proposed to him over the invoice. Instead, we had coffee. Adrian noticed things my family treated as invisible. He noticed that brides called me before they called the office. He noticed that I ate dinner over the sink after 14-hour wedding days. He noticed that my mother introduced Brooke as the heart of Mercer House and introduced me as our numbers person. On our 4th date, he asked how much of the company I owned. It is a family business. That wasn't my question. I changed the subject. At 29, I finally asked my father to put the future in writing. We were sitting in the office after a Sunday brunch. There were coffee rings on the desk and $18,000 in checks waiting for deposit. "I have been here 12 years, I said. "I need to know what I am building." Dad leaned back. "You are building your family's future." "Do I own any part of it?" His face changed. "Not anger, injury." "Is that how you see this?" Mom heard us from the hallway and came in. "Dana, your father has given you a career." I looked at the checks. I gave this place a career. That was the wrong sentence. My mother went quiet. My father stood. By dinner, Brooke knew I had demanded half the venue. For 2 weeks, everyone treated me like I had tried to sell the building. Then June wedding season started, and they needed me again. Nothing changed. That was how Mercer House worked. Conflict disappeared when labor was required. It returned when ownership came up. I kept going for 5 more years. I am not proud of that. I was afraid that leaving would prove I had only stayed for money. I was afraid my parents would fail without me. I was afraid 17 years of work would become a blank space with Brooke smiling in front of it. Most of all, I was attached to the couples. Wedding venues sell one very expensive promise. A couple gives you money months before the day and trusts that the room, food, staff, chairs, lights, and bathrooms will exist when their families arrive. I took that trust personally. My parents took the deposits personally too, but in a different way. The first warning came in September 2024. A bride named Celia Grant called my private number at 7:12 on a Monday morning. Why did my balance change? Her contract said she owed $9,600 after the deposit. The new portal said $14,100. I opened her file. Someone had added a premium floral package and a second bar station. Did you approve those? No. I removed them and sent a corrected balance. That afternoon, Brooke came into my office. Stop changing my upgrades. Celia did not order them. She will want them once she sees the design. Then she can sign for them. Brooke rolled her eyes. You make everything feel cheap. A contract is not a mood board. She left and told Mom I had embarrassed her. Mom came in 20 minutes later. Brooke is trying to increase our average booking. By charging people for things they did not approve. By showing them what is possible. After adding it to the bill, Mom's mouth tightened. Family doesn't keep score, Dana. We support each other's strengths. I did not know what that sentence meant anymore, except that I was supposed to stop asking. 3 months later, Brooke announced she was buying a townhouse. It cost $468,000. She had worked for Mercer House for 6 years, mostly in sales, and made $54,000. Her fiancé, Tyler, sold fitness equipment and had changed jobs 3 times. I asked how they qualified. Brooke smiled. Some of us know how to build value instead of count pennies. My father told me to congratulate her. I did. Then I went back to my office and found a transfer I did not recognize. $62,000 had moved from the deposit reserve into a new account labeled MHE Design Expansion. Brooke had access. Dad had approved it. When I asked, Dad said it was a short-term advance for the design division. The deposit reserve is for contracted events. The money is sitting there. Because the weddings have not happened yet. We need it to perform the weddings. He stood over my desk. Do you think I don't understand my own business? I looked at the transfer. I think this money belongs to obligations we already sold. Mom stepped between us. Enough. Brooke is bringing Mercer House into a new market. Her townhouse has a showroom room. The company is leasing part of it. That was the first time I understood. The deposit money had helped Brooke close on the townhouse. They had turned it into a company expense after the fact. I moved the next 11 deposits into a separate reserve account that required 2 approvals for withdrawal. I sent my parents a written explanation. I copied our outside accountant, Martin Shaw. My father called me within 6 minutes. Put it back. No. That money belongs to Mercer House. It belongs to 11 weddings until we perform them. You are an employee. There it was. 17 years after I built the first invoice at a folding chair, I was an employee. I asked him to say it again. He did. You are an employee. You do not get to lock the owners out of their money. I looked at my mother's office door. She was standing there. She heard him. She did not object. Brooke stood behind her with her arms crossed. This is what happens when someone keeps score, she said. I left at 3:40 that afternoon. I did not take a client list. I did not take a laptop. I did not even take the framed photograph of the first wedding, though I had been the one holding towels against the west door while it happened. I took my purse, my coat, and the ceramic mug Adrian had given me. My father disabled my building code before I reached the parking lot. My mother sent one text. When you calm down, we can discuss your attitude. I did not go back. The calls came. I did not answer the ones from my parents. I answered the bride's. That was probably a mistake legally. It was not a mistake morally. Celia called first. Brooke says you left with the planning files. I did not. She says you deleted my floral changes. You told me you did not approve them. There was a pause. She says my old price is only valid if I pay the remaining balance today. Celia's wedding was 7 months away. Do not pay anything until they send you a written itemized balance. Are you still our coordinator? I closed my eyes. No. Her voice changed. Then who knows what we agreed to? I did. That was the problem. I had built a system around myself because I was always there. My parents had benefited from that. The couples had too. Now the system was still there, but Brooke was editing it. Within 6 weeks, 14 couples contacted me. Some had new balances. Some had lost menu notes. 3 were told their ceremony times had changed because Brooke booked afternoon photo shoots before their weddings. 2 were offered refunds that never arrived. I told each person the same thing. Ask for your signed contract. Ask for a current payment ledger. Keep every message. I did not tell them to sue. I did not tell them to cancel. I did not attack my family. I gave them the basic things Mercer House should have given them without being asked. Then my mother posted a statement. It appeared on the venue's page at 8:00 on a Thursday night. Mercer House is completing a difficult transition after a former employee removed operational information and disrupted client accounts. We remain committed to every couple and ask for patience as we repair the damage. Former employee. Removed operational information. Damage. My name was not in it, but everyone knew. By midnight, 3 vendors had texted me. By morning, the Dayton Wedding Professionals Association had removed me from the planning committee for its spring showcase pending clarification. That hurt more than I expected. I had volunteered with the association for 9 years. I had written its deposit checklist after a florist went bankrupt. I had taught 2 workshops on contract handoffs. One vague post from my mother erased all of that in 12 hours. Adrian read the statement at my kitchen table. Do you have proof you did not remove anything? I left everything. Proof, Dana. I hated the question, even though he was right. Then I remembered the access email. Mercer House used a cloud event system called VoutraC. Every download, deletion, export, and login was recorded because we had added the audit feature after a ransomware scare. I called Martin Shaw, the accountant. He sounded tired. I cannot give you company records. I am not asking for company records. I am asking whether my user account exported or deleted client files before it was disabled. He was quiet. Why? Because my parents said I took them. Another pause. Send me the public statement. I did. The next day, Martin called. Your account did not export or delete anything. I sat down. Can you put that in writing? I can state what the log shows. That was the first proof. My last login was 2:58 p.m. The account was disabled at 3:46. No exports, no deletions, no changed contracts. But the log showed something else. At 5:14 that evening, Brooke's account opened Celia's file. At 5:22, the original signed pricing page was moved to archive. At 5:31, a new package sheet was uploaded. The changes continued for 19 days. Brooke had not inherited a mess. She had created one and put my departure date on it. Martin warned me not to contact the association yet. There is a larger issue, he said. What issue? The merchant reserve. He would not explain over the phone. We met at a coffee shop the next morning. Martin brought no files. He brought a list of transaction dates he had written himself. The $62,000 transfer had not been the only withdrawal. Over 5 months, my parents and Brooke had moved $186,400 from deposit reserves into operating, design, and property-related accounts. Some had paid Mercer house bills. Some had paid the townhouse lease. One transfer covered $18,700 in past due payroll taxes. Another paid for a bridal suite renovation that had never started. "Can the venue cover the weddings?" I asked. Martin rubbed his forehead. "Not all of them." "How many?" "If bookings stay strong and no one asks for refunds, maybe most." "That is not an answer." "It is the answer I have." I thought of 23 couples with dates, invitations, dresses, hotel blocks, and parents who believed the largest bill was already handled. "Why didn't you stop them?" "I told Paul to restore the reserve." "Why didn't you tell me?" Martin looked at me. "Your father said you approved the transfers." The coffee shop noise seemed to move farther away. "What?" He slid a handwritten note across the table. "Dana approved design expansion reserve release, family allocation, EM." My mother's initials. "That is not my approval." "I know that now." That was the second proof. My mother had not merely stayed quiet while my father moved the money. She had used my name to make the accountant stop asking. The third proof arrived from the merchant processor. When I opened the Mercer House account in 2017, I had signed as the verified operations contact. After I left, the processor sent a routine confirmation email to my old Mercer House address. Brooke had created a forwarding rule before my account was disabled. Messages containing the words dispute, reserve, verification, or chargeback went to a new private address. That address belonged to Brooke. 3 weeks after I left, someone used my saved profile to confirm that I remained the responsible operations contact. Then 2 canceled couples disputed their payments. The processor called me. "Ms. Mercer, we need to discuss $31,800 in chargebacks." "I do not work there." The agent went silent. "Our verification was completed under your name last month." My hands went cold. I asked for the date. February 11 at 9:08 a.m. I had been at Adrian's warehouse that morning helping count fixtures. The verification had come from the Mercer House office computer. It used my date of birth and the last 4 digits of my social security number. Only 3 people had access to the locked personnel cabinet where my old payroll file was stored. My parents and Brooke. That was the moment the betrayal became bigger than a family business fight. They were not just blaming me for missing money. They were keeping me attached to the missing money. If you know someone whose work was erased and whose name was used against them, share this story with them and subscribe, because that was the moment I stopped treating this as a family argument. Adrian wanted me to call the police that day. I did not. I called an attorney named Priya Desai, who handled commercial identity disputes. She listened without interrupting. Then she asked one question. "Are weddings currently at risk?" "Yes." "Then we protect you and the couples at the same time." Priya sent preservation notices to Mercer House, Voutrack, the processor, and Martin. She filed an identity misuse report with the processor and gave my parents 7 days to remove my name from every account. My father called before the email finished loading. "You brought a lawyer into this. You used my identity. We kept the account running. Under my name. Your name helped build it. That does not make it yours to use." My mother got on the phone. "Dana, listen to yourself. You sound like a stranger." "A stranger would be in less danger." She started crying. "We gave you everything." I looked around my 1-bedroom apartment. The dining table had been my desk for 3 months. My college diploma from Sinclair hung beside the kitchen because I had never had an office that belonged to me. "You gave me work," I said. "Then you used my name after you took the work away." "Family doesn't keep score." She said it again. Calm, injured, certain. For the first time, I answered it. A merchant processor does. I hung up. The fourth proof came from Celia. She and her fiancé, Noah, had paid Mercer House $17,500. After I left, Brooke told them the original garden room package was unavailable unless they added $6,200 in design services. Celia refused. Brooke marked their account delinquent and released their date to another couple. Then Mercer House kept the deposit. Celia had every message. She also had something I did not know existed. The white binder. For years, I made one physical event binder for each wedding. It held the signed contract, layout, vendor list, payment summary, food notes, emergency contacts, and every approved change. The office system was faster, but the binder worked when Wi-Fi failed or someone needed an answer in the garden. When I left, all active binders were in the locked cabinet behind my desk. Brooke told the couples I had taken them. Celia had hers because I had given it to her 6 months early after she told me her father had early-stage dementia and wanted to review the day while he still felt confident. Her binder contained the original contract, the original package sheet, and a receipt for every payment. It also contained a note in my handwriting. Celia keeps garden room at signed rate. No design upgrade without written approval. Brooke had called that note fabricated. Then Celia showed me an email Brooke sent 2 weeks before I left. Dana is being rigid again. I will fix this once she is no longer controlling operations. I read it twice. She planned to remove you, Celia asked. I think they were waiting for me to object loudly enough. Celia's face changed. She had been angry about her wedding. Now she understood that her wedding had been used as bait in a family power struggle. How many couples? She asked. At least 23 are exposed. Give me their names. I cannot. Then give them mine. Celia created a private group called Mercer Couples Record Exchange. I did not run it. Priya made sure of that. The couples compared what Mercer House had told them. The pattern became visible in 3 days. 6 had new charges they had never approved. 4 had refund promises with no payment. 3 had dates moved or double booked. 7 had been told I removed their files. 5 had received revised contracts with a typed version of my name in the approval field after I left. One couple, Tasha and Ben, had paid an extra $11,000 because Brooke told them I had underpriced their wedding and could face criminal charges if they refused to correct it. That message made Adrian put his phone down and walk outside. He came back 5 minutes later. She used fear of you going to jail to collect money. Yes. And your parents knew. I don't know. That answer lasted until the 5th proof. It came from the office camera. Adrian had installed the system after someone stole 2 cases of liquor in 2022. The cameras kept 90 days of clips in cloud storage. My parents forgot Adrian still had installer access for maintenance alerts. Priya requested the verification date. The clip was 47 seconds. My father opened the personnel cabinet. My mother handed Brooke a blue payroll folder. Brooke sat at my old desk and typed. At 9:08, she held up her phone. My mother leaned over and read something from the folder. My father stood at the door. No audio was needed. 3 people, 1 folder, my identity. Adrian watched the clip once. Do you want me to save a copy? Priya already did. That isn't what I asked. I understood. He was asking if I wanted him to carry part of it. Yes. He saved it in the evidence folder on his company server, then closed the laptop. That night I cried in his truck outside my apartment. Not because I had lost Mercer House. I had already lost it. I cried because my mother had read my personal information out loud to help Brooke pretend to be me. I had spent years protecting my parents from double bookings, late taxes, bad contracts, and their own memory. They had used the same skill against me. They knew where the records were because I had organized them. The next morning, Adrian made coffee and said, "Marry me." I stared at him. That is terrible timing. I had the ring before the camera clip. How long? 6 weeks. You watched my family commit identity fraud and decided this was romantic. No, I watched you protect 23 couples while your own life was on fire. I already knew who you were. He put the ring box beside my coffee. I do not need your parents' version. I said yes in sweatpants at 6:40 on a Tuesday morning. We did not post it. For 11 days, only Priya, Celia, and Adrian's sister knew. Then the Dayton Wedding Professionals Association announced its spring showcase. Mercer House was the presenting venue. Brooke was scheduled to give a talk called Protecting Couples During Staff Transitions. I read the title 3 times. The association had not restored me to the planning committee. Its president, Linda Carver, said the dispute was private and the showcase could not become a family battleground. It already is, I said. They are using your stage to repeat the accusation. Linda sounded uncomfortable. Do you have an official finding? The processor is investigating. Then let that finish. The showcase is in 9 days. Dana, we cannot cancel a presenting sponsor based on competing stories. Competing stories. That phrase stayed with me. One story had a social media post. The other had access logs, transaction dates, client messages, a processor verification, and a camera clip. But until someone in authority acted, they were equal to Linda because treating them as equal was easier. Priya called the processor while I was still angry. The processor agreed to accelerate its review because active chargebacks and future events were involved. It also required Mercer House to attend an in-person account control meeting the morning of the showcase. My parents refused. Then the processor placed a temporary hold on new payouts. They agreed. The meeting was set for 10:00 at the convention hotel. The showcase opened at 1:00 in the ballroom downstairs. My father called Adrian that evening. I was beside him when the phone rang. Man to man, Dad said, loud enough that I could hear. You need to understand what Dana has done. Adrian put the call on speaker. I understand she built your operation. She has poisoned clients against us and frozen our money. The processor froze your money. Because she made accusations. Because someone verified an account under her identity. My father paused. There are things you don't know. Then say them. Dana took $186,400. I stopped breathing for a second. That was the exact amount Martin had identified as missing from the reserve. They had turned the amount. They moved into the amount I stole. Adrian looked at me. What date did she take it? Dad said it happened over time. What account did it go to? She controlled the books. What account, Paul? My father hung up. 10 minutes later, my mother texted Adrian a photograph. It showed a 1-page incident summary on Mercer House letterhead. Dana Mercer removed or redirected reserve funds totaling approximately $186,400 during the period of her operational control. At the bottom were 3 signatures. Paul Mercer, Elaine Mercer, Brooke Mercer. The document was dated 2 days after I left. It had not been sent to police, the accountant, the processor, or an insurer. It was not an incident report. It was a prop waiting for an audience. Adrian asked me what my parents would do at the showcase. They will make the accusation public. Why? Because if enough vendors believe I stole the reserve, every couple who talks to me looks manipulated. And the camera clip. They do not know we have it. He nodded once. Good. I did not like how calm he sounded. What are you thinking? That they called the wrong fiancé. At the account control meeting, my parents arrived with Brooke, Tyler, and a lawyer named Grant Wells. Priya came with me. Adrian waited outside because the processor limited attendance. The processor sent a senior risk manager named Simone Reed. Martin attended by video. Linda Carver sat in as association president because Mercer House's sponsor status depended on account stability. Simone did not begin with the $186,400. She began with my name. Ms. Mercer, did you complete a verification on February 11? No. Did you authorize anyone to use your personal identifiers? No. She turned to Brooke. Did you complete that verification? Brooke looked at Grant. He said, my client believed she was updating a family business profile. Simone asked again. Did you represent yourself as Dana Mercer? Brooke's voice was small. The account would not let us change the contact. That is not an answer. My mother leaned forward. Dana had left us in a crisis. Simone looked at her. Did you provide your daughter's date of birth and social security information? My mother started to cry. It happened quickly, one breath then tears. We were trying to save 23 weddings. Celia was not in that room, but I heard her voice in my head. Then why did you change mine? Priya slid one still image across the table. It showed my mother, holding the blue payroll folder open beside Brooke. My father's face went gray. Brooke looked at him. He looked at my mother. For the first time in my life, none of them looked at me for the answer. The room had cornered them without a speech. Simone moved to the reserve. Martin confirmed the withdrawals. He stated that my parents controlled the accounts and that I had created, not removed, the two-approval reserve before my access ended. The transaction history showed every disputed dollar going into accounts controlled by Mercer House, Brooke's design division, or the townhouse lease arrangement. None went to me. The $186,400 accusation died in under 4 minutes. My father tried to change the subject. Dana encouraged clients to dispute charges. Priya asked, which client? He named Celia. Linda shifted in her chair. Celia Grant is here today. For the showcase, Brooke said, she has been harassing us. I looked at Brooke. You released her date and kept $17,500. Because she breached. By refusing an upgrade she did not order. Grant told both of us to stop. Simone did not. She requested the signed contract. Brooke produced a revised copy. The approval field contained my typed name. The revision date was 12 days after I left. Simone looked at me. Did you approve this? No. Brooke said it was based on Dana's notes. I placed Celia's original white binder on the table. I had not carried it in. Celia had given it to Priya that morning. Simone opened to the package sheet. Original price. Original signatures. My handwritten note. No upgrade without written approval. Linda touched the edge of the page. This is the binder Mercer House, said Dana removed. My mother answered too fast. She could have made another one. The door opened. Celia stood there with Noah. Simone had invited them as chargeback witnesses. Celia looked directly at my mother. Dana gave me that binder 7 months before she left because my father was losing his memory. It has been in my house the whole time. My mother looked down. Celia did not raise her voice. You told the association she stole it. You told me she ruined my wedding. Then you sold my date to another couple. Noah placed their canceled save the date on the table. May 18, Mercer House. We mailed 142 of these, he said. Your daughter did not do that to us. That was the human consequence the numbers could not carry. Linda looked at the card for a long time. Then she turned to Brooke. "You are speaking downstairs at 2. Brooke straightened. "Yes." "No, you are not." My mother stared at Linda. Mercer House paid $28,000 to present this showcase. Linda's face hardened. That purchased sponsor space. It did not purchase the association's credibility. That was the first official consequence. Simone announced the rest. My name would be removed from the merchant profile immediately. The impersonated verification would be referred to the processor's fraud unit. New payouts would remain restricted. Mercer House had to provide a funded event performance plan for every active couple. Revised contracts bearing my name would be treated as disputed. The processor would not release held money for the townhouse lease or design division. My father stood. "You are shutting down a 20-year business over a family misunderstanding." Simone stayed seated. Using another person's identity is not a family category. He sat back down. The meeting ended at 12:18. The showcase opened in 42 minutes. Linda asked me to wait in the hallway. She spoke with the association board. Then she came out and said Mercer House would be removed as presenting sponsor before the doors opened. "We also owe you a correction," she said. "Yes." She flinched slightly. I did not make it easier for her. The public accusation was allowed to stand because we called it private. It was not private once it affected your committee role and their sponsor presentation. "What happens now?" "We can restore you and issue a statement." "After the showcase?" "Today." I looked through the glass doors at vendors setting up displays. Florists lifted centerpieces. DJs tested microphones. Photographers hung framed couples on black curtains. Mercer House staff were pulling down a 20-foot sponsor banner. Brooke stood under it crying into Tyler's shoulder. My mother saw me watching. She came into the hallway. "Are you happy now?" "No. You have destroyed everything your father and I built. The venue still has 23 couples. Because of you, we cannot access our own money. It was never free money." She stepped closer. "You think those brides care about you? They care about their parties. We are your family. Those parties are why they paid you. Family doesn't keep score." The sentence sounded smaller in the convention hallway. I looked at her. "You kept score. You just wrote my losses under your names." She slapped me. It was not hard enough to knock me down. It was loud enough to stop the hallway. Adrian was 20 feet away. So were Linda, Priya, Simone, Celia, Noah, 3 association board members, and 2 hotel security officers. My mother looked at her own hand like it had betrayed her. I did not touch my face. I said, "Now everyone knows what happens when the record does not obey you." Hotel security escorted her away from the ballroom entrance. My father followed, shouting that the showcase was built on Mercer money. Brooke followed him. Tyler stayed behind for 3 seconds, looked at the pulled-down banner, then went after her. I thought that was the climax. It was not. At 1:00, the ballroom doors opened. The association had removed the Mercer House logo from the stage screen. Staff replaced it with a plain slide that said Dayton Wedding Professionals Spring Showcase. Linda asked me to stand near the side because she planned to correct my committee status before the first seminar. Adrian squeezed my hand. "They may leave it there," he said. "Leave what?" "The accusation. They still have copies of that incident summary." He was right. My parents had lost the meeting. They had not lost the room. At 1:17, while Linda was welcoming vendors, my father walked into the ballroom through the hotel lobby. Security had removed him from the sponsor entrance, not banned him from the building. My mother and Brooke came behind him. My mother had fixed her makeup. Brooke carried the canceled bride's contract. They walked straight toward the stage. Linda stopped speaking. My father took the second microphone from its stand before a hotel employee could reach him. "Before this association publicly humiliates my family," he said, "these vendors deserve to know why." The ballroom quieted. People lifted phones. I could hear my pulse. My mother climbed the stage. Brooke followed. This was what they had planned from the beginning. The sponsor seminar was never only about protecting couples. It was about putting their version into the largest wedding industry room in the county. My mother looked at Adrian. "Before you marry her, you should know what she does when people trust her." She held up Celia's revised contract. Dana Mercer abandoned 23 couples and stole or redirected $186,400 from the business that raised her. There were 184 registered vendors in that ballroom. Caterers, bakers, planners, photographers, officiants, hotel managers, rental companies, and venue owners. These were not strangers to me. They were my professional life. My father took the microphone. "We stayed quiet because she is our daughter. We tried to handle this privately. Instead, she froze our account and turned confused brides against us." Brooke lifted the contract. "This is one of the files she changed before she left." Then Adrian stepped away from me. He walked to the front, but did not take the stage. "You picked a room full of witnesses," he said. "That was your mistake." My father pointed at him. "You do not know her. I know exactly where I was on February 11 at 9:08 in the morning." Brooke went still. Adrian looked toward the ballroom doors. They opened. Celia and Noah came in first. Behind them were Tasha and Ben, Lauren and Miguel, Priyanka and Sam, Elise and Jordan, and Marcus and Faith. 6 couples. 3 carried binders. 2 carried canceled invitations. 1 carried a framed seating chart they could no longer use because Mercer House had released their date. They did not march. They did not shout. They walked to the front and stood between the vendor tables and the stage. Celia held up the white binder. "This is my original file," she said. "Dana did not take it. She gave it to me before she left." Brooke said, "That proves nothing." Tasha stepped forward. "You charged us $11,000 because you said Dana had committed a crime by underpricing our wedding." Ben held up his phone. "We have the message." Lauren spoke next. "You promised our $14,200 refund in 10 business days. That was 67 days ago." Miguel added, "Then you told us Dana had the money." The room changed the way professional rooms change when a complaint becomes a pattern. People stopped watching for drama and started recognizing risk. A florist near the front whispered something to a planner. A hotel manager took out a notebook. 2 photographers lowered their phones and looked at Brooke. My father tried to interrupt. "These people have been coached." Priya walked to the front. "Then perhaps you would prefer the merchant processor's conclusion." Simone stood from the association table. She did not take the microphone. She did not need to. "Dana Mercer did not receive the disputed reserve funds," she said. "Her identity was used after her access ended. Mercer House is under payout restriction and fraud review." My mother's face emptied. There are moments when a lie stops being useful to the person telling it. That was hers. My father looked toward the exit. Linda stepped onto the stage and took the microphone from his hand. "The association has reviewed enough to correct its own action," she said. "Dana Mercer did not remove client files. Her committee suspension is withdrawn. Mercer House is removed as presenting sponsor and suspended from association referrals pending resolution of its active client obligations." Applause started near the back. I hated it at first. It felt too close to celebration, and nothing about those couples losing dates was worth celebrating. Then I saw who started it. Bate Collins, the bride from the first Mercer house wedding. I had not seen her in 18 years. She was standing beside a catering display with gray in her hair and tears on her face. She did not clap loudly. She clapped twice, then stopped. "Dana," she said. The room quieted again. Bate walked toward me carrying an old photograph. It showed her and Ray under the west windows at Mercer House. The floor was dry. The blush roses were behind them. "Elaine told this association last month that Dana never understood weddings," Bate said. "I was your first bride." My mother stared at her. Bate held up the photograph. It rained all day. Dana kept water out of the ballroom, replaced the wrong flowers, found my missing cake knife, and stayed until my last aunt had a ride home. She was 17. Bate looked at me. I knew. My throat tightened. "You knew what?" "I knew you fixed it. Your mother told me later that the flowers were her idea, but the florist sent me the second invoice by mistake. Your name was on it." She reached into her purse and pulled out a small cream place card. "Dana, please eat something." I remembered it. Bate had put it beside a plate in the kitchen because she saw me working through dinner. "I kept this in my wedding box," she said. "Not because it was important paper, because you were the only person in that building who kept asking what I needed." That was the witness my parents could not explain away. Not an investigator, not a processor, not an attorney. The first bride. The person who had been there before Mercer House had status, money, or a sponsor banner. My father sat down on the edge of the stage. Brooke started crying. My mother looked at Bate and said, "You do not know what Dana put this family through." Bate answered, "I know what she carried while you took the credit." My mother stepped back. No one blocked her when she left. That mattered. For years, she had controlled rooms by making people chase her when she was hurt. Nobody chased her. My father followed slowly. Brooke stayed. She looked at the 6 couples. "I can fix your weddings." Celia said, "You sold my date." Brooke looked at Linda. "The venue can still perform." Linda answered, "Then your funded performance plan will prove it." No one argued after that. The showcase continued, but not as planned. The association canceled Brooke's seminar and gave the hour to the 6 couples and a consumer attorney who explained, in plain language, how vendors could verify deposits without exposing private details. I did not speak. I sat with Adrian behind the lighting display and held Bates' place card. At 2:40, Adrian asked if I still wanted to marry him. "You invited 6 angry couples to our engagement day. Technically, you invited them by doing your job for 17 years. That is not romantic." Bate thinks it is. Bate, who was standing close enough to hear, said, "I do." I laughed. It was the first laugh I had managed since my mother hit me. Near the end of the showcase, Linda returned to the stage. She announced the association would create an emergency venue transfer network for the affected Mercer house couples. Vendors offered open dates, reduced rates, rentals, photography, flowers, and catering credits. It solved enough to change the room. Celia and Noah found a new venue for May 25. Tasha and Ben kept their date at a hotel whose ballroom manager had heard the whole story. Lauren and Miguel received a temporary association fund advance, while their refund claim continued. The other couples left with names, dates, and people who had looked them in the eye. That was better than a speech about justice. It was a Saturday returned to someone. The official consequences came over the next 4 months. The processor removed my name from every Mercer house profile and sent me a written identity clearance. It confirmed I had not received the $186,400 and was not responsible for the chargebacks created after my departure. The insurer refused to cover the loss as employee theft because there had been no employee theft. That forced my parents to correct the claim they had started building around me. The association suspended Mercer House for 1 year and required proof that all active couples were funded or transferred before reinstatement. The townhouse lease was canceled. Brooke and Tyler had to refinance without venue money. My father sold a parcel behind Mercer House to restore part of the deposit reserve. The venue completed 9 weddings, transferred 8, and refunded 6 through a payment schedule monitored by the processor. Brooke entered a diversion agreement over the identity verification and revised contracts. My parents were not charged, but the camera clip and processor referral stayed in the file. Their lawyer made sure they understood that another use of my name would not be called a misunderstanding. Mercer House did not close. I was glad. That surprised people. I did not want the building dead. I wanted it unable to eat another person's promise. My parents hired an outside manager. For the first time in 20 years, deposits went into a restricted account no family member could treat like a drawer of spare cash. My mother sent me 6 letters. The first blamed Adrian. The second blamed Priya. The third said Brooke had panicked. The fourth said my father had been under pressure. The fifth said the slap was not who she was. The sixth was only 4 lines. We should have given you ownership years ago. We were afraid that if we admitted how much the venue depended on you, you would leave. Then you left anyway. It was the closest she came to the truth. I did not answer. An explanation is not repair. In August, Linda offered me my old committee seat. I declined. Then she offered me a paid role, building the association's event transfer system. I accepted that. Family had taught me not to ask for money. The association had already learned what happened when my labor was treated as atmosphere. I sent a contract. Linda signed it without changing a line. Adrian and I married on October 12 at a small brick warehouse his company had converted into a lighting studio. There were 58 guests. No sponsor banners, no family speeches, no white fabric hiding bad walls. My parents were not invited. Brooke was not invited. Bate and Ray came. So did Celia and Noah, who had married in May under a borrowed garden arch and sent me a photograph the next morning. 6 of the affected couples attended. They sat at one long table near the windows. Adrian built the lights himself. Warm bulbs crossed the ceiling in straight lines, each circuit labeled in the panel. Before the ceremony, Bate found me in the small office where I was putting on my shoes. She handed me a white binder. For 1 second, my stomach dropped. Then I opened it. The first page was our marriage license appointment. The second was the catering agreement. The third was the lighting plan. The fourth was a 1-page contract between Adrian and me. No hidden family ownership, no unpaid promises, no sentence about love meaning one person had to disappear. At the bottom, Adrian had written, "All decisions require 2 yeses. Either person may say no. No one uses the other's name without permission. Family keeps honest records." I laughed until I cried. Bate placed the old cream card inside the front pocket. "Dana, please eat something." "You still need the reminder," she said. She was right. The practical receipt arrived 2 days after our wedding. Priya forwarded the final processor letter. My personal identifiers had been removed. The false responsible party record was closed. The $186,400 accusation was marked unsupported. The disputed contracts carrying my typed approval were formally separated from my name. I printed 1 copy. Not because I wanted to stare at it. Because for 17 years, my family had depended on my records and mocked me for needing them. That letter was one record I kept for myself. I placed it in the white binder behind our marriage certificate. The emotional receipt came the next Saturday. Celia called and asked Adrian and me to stop by her house. When we arrived, the 6 couples from the showcase were there with pizza, folding chairs, and a large cardboard box. Inside were copies of their finished wedding photographs. Tasha dancing with her father. Lauren and Miguel under hotel lights. Elise and Jordan cutting a cake in a church hall after their venue transfer. Marcus and Faith standing in rain under clear umbrellas. Priyanka and Sam beside the lake. Celia and Noah under the borrowed garden arch. On the back of each photograph, they had written one sentence about the vendor or person who helped save the day. Not me every time. That was what made it matter. A florist, a hotel manager, a baker, Linda, Adrian, Priya, a rental driver who stayed late, people who stepped in after the proof changed the room. Celia handed me the last photograph. It was not from a wedding. It showed the 6 couples walking through the ballroom doors at the showcase, carrying their binders and canceled invitations. Someone had taken it from the back. On the white border, Celia had written, "You did not abandon us. You taught us to walk in with our own names." I kept that photograph. Not at the back of a storage closet. Not in an office owned by someone else. It hangs beside my desk at the association. The desk has my name on it. My contract has my name on it. My bank account has my name on it. Mercer House still appears in wedding photographs. Couples stand under the west windows where I once rolled towels against the rain. The new manager fixed the door, funded the reserve, and removed Brooks' design packages from active contracts. I have not gone back. I do not need to walk through the building to prove I built part of it. Bate remembers. The couples remember. The transaction history remembers. And on the wall beside my desk, 6 finished weddings exist because a room full of people stopped treating a family lie as a private matter. My mother said family did not keep score. She was right about one thing. Love is not a scoreboard. But deposits need ledgers. Contracts need names. Promises need people willing to stand behind them. And when someone uses family to hide what they took, a clean record is not cruelty. It is the door opening. It is 6 couples walking through. It is a first bride holding an 18-year-old place card and telling the room who stayed after the lights went out. On our first anniversary, Adrian and I opened the white binder. The processor letter was still behind the marriage certificate. Bates' cream card was still in the front pocket. Celia's showcase photograph was tucked inside the back cover. Adrian added one new page. It was the paid invoice for my first full year building the association's transfer network. Every amount matched. Every name was correct. At the bottom, Linda had written, "Thank you for keeping the promise." I closed the binder and put it back on the shelf. Then Adrian and I went out to dinner. No emergency calls, no missing deposits, no one asking me to save a room and disappear from the photograph. Just 2 people leaving the office on time under lights he had labeled, and a contract I had signed with my own name.